Kyrie Irving's season is over. Where do the Mavericks go from here? Plus, we're going to be joined by Jeff Stotts and Jason Gallagher on today's show of the DLLS Mavs Podcast. Hey, what's up, DLLS Mavs Nation? It's your man, Kevin Gray, alongside Mavericks beat writer Tim Cato, Mavericks analyst Bobby Corella. We are DLLS Mavs. We really appreciate you joining us here on DLLS Sports. Kyrie Irving's season is over. Where do the Mavericks go from here? Plus, we'll be joined by injury analyst Jeff Stotts and Jason Gallagher of the Young Man and the Three podcast on today's show. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to DLLS Sports while you are here. As, of course, the breaking news earlier today, Kyrie Irving suffering a torn ACL in last night's game against the Sacramento Kings. He will be out for the remainder of the regular season. Of course, the evaluations for Anthony Davis, Derek Lively II, and Daniel Gafford coming on Thursday, as well as the Mavericks somehow try to salvage what is left on the final 20 games or so of their regular season. We've got you here for the next hour here on DLLS Sports, gentlemen, on this Tuesday. Once again, another somber day for Mavericks fans who have watched this team, unfortunately, go through what has been an awful season on a number of fronts. Unfortunately, more of that happening today with the news of Kyrie Irving.
Huge storm rolled through Dallas last night, so I can only take that as an omen, as a sign that even the heavens were crying out for how catastrophic this Mavericks season has been. It's unlike anything I've ever seen, anything I've ever witnessed, anything, not even directly covering it, any sports season. I challenge anybody to go name the worst sports season that has ever happened in professional sports. I can't imagine there's many that can compete with this.
There have been cities that have lost their team entirely. There have been teams like the Warriors in 2019 that made it all the way to the NBA Finals before losing two of their players with devastating injuries, Kevin Durant with the Achilles and Klay with the ACL. I'm not sure that the Mavs moving to Vegas overnight would have been worse than this. I'm really not, man. I'm really not. The Mavs were this close to winning the finals last year. They got handily beat by the Celtics, but they were there. They were young. All of their starters, except for Kyrie, were like 25 years old or younger. We're thinking, well, this will be the first of many. Don't worry. They might be back. They might be back, and next time they might even win the whole thing. Because they have the best player in the world. They have the best number 2 in the NBA. They have maybe the best supporting cast in the NBA. They got a coach that everyone's bought in on, and they bought into, and they have a GM that is willing to go make a move if he thinks that things aren't going the way they should.
Did you say 20-year-old Derek Lively as well?
Yeah, well, he's not around. And the guy that replaced him, Daniel Gafford, he's not around. Their defensive ace, Derek Jones, changed teams. The guy that stood on business, P.J. Washington, has been in and out for a long time now. The number 2, well, he's out for the season with ACL injury. The guy that was their number 1 got traded, and the guy that he got traded for is also probably out for the season. Otherwise, though, everything is fine.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about this prior to the show. My level of exhaustion, from anger to disappointment to any number of feelings that I've had since February 1st at 11:12 p.m., have really just culminated with today's news, to be quite honest with you. An organization willingly torpedoing its franchise for reasons of their own that do not seem, even to this day, a month plus later after the trade has happened, to me is something that I am still trying to come to grips with. And folks who have jumped in my mentions say, get over it. He's one player. he's this guy that went to this team, move on. There are certain individuals for certain organizations that mean just a little bit more. And the Mavericks were blessed to have not one, but two of those guys, with the second one on the ascent of a prime for the next 10 years after taking his team alongside a superstar sidekick in Kyrie Irving to the NBA Finals 9 months ago. And to go from that moment to this moment today, I have hardly no words to describe how I feel just as a sports fan in general. Forget the whole Mavericks thing in and of itself. As a sports fan, this is a season from hell I have never seen before for any franchise of the four major sports. Injury after injury, PR nightmare after PR nightmare. There has been no peace since 11:12 p.m. Central Standard Time on February 1st. And honestly, today is the culmination of all of that. And I feel just terrible for every Maverick fan who has loved this team from its inception to this very moment that we're talking right now, because I don't think they ever dreamed of a day like this when it comes to how this franchise is now where they are at this particular point.
The thing is, though, KG, like, it has gotten it. February 1st, I wish, was the starting date. But like a month before that, the Mavs were already out Derek Lively, probably for the rest of the year. They were out Luka for an unknown period of time. We didn't know that it would be forever at the moment. God, ignorance sure is bliss, isn't it? But he was out. Really, the only good time this year was when they won 14 out of 17, which validated everyone's reason for feeling so confident after last season through the offseason. The Mavs were the best team in the NBA this year for 17 games, which is more than 20% of the season.
Yeah.
They were the best team in the NBA.
Who would have thought that the Utah loss was actually quite pleasant?
I wish.
Compared to the rest.
Season?
I wish, man.
Yeah. This is just horrific. It's horrific stuff right now. You really do have to contemplate the existence of the franchise, how a fan base can ever recover from this. Nico Harrison made a very, very unpopular trade. And I don't think he or the team had any idea exactly the amount of vitriol and the amount of anger that would stem from it. But the team did understand it would be a controversial, unpopular trade. And part of that gamble was that the front office thought that they would show it on the court. And to not have that chance just means it festers. To have a fan base that frustrated and broken, and to not even be able to replace those emotions with some semblance of joy from a team that might not be the team that the fans wanted to see, might not include the player, Luka, that they had come to adore. But if you could at least replace some of those feelings with a shallower, with a more hollow feeling of, oh, at least this team is fun and good. There was those 3 quarters, that Anthony Davis played.
31 minutes of bliss.
So much fun.
Also, 31 minutes of 36 available.
Yes.
Played a lot. But that's neither here nor there. But to not replace those feelings just means this builds and builds. It only gets worse. There is a very real possibility that this goes beyond the breaking point. That, like, it may, for a lot of fans, it already has. For a lot of fans, it happened right when Luka was traded. But now we're talking percentages of the fan base. Now we're talking about how this is just going to keep eating away at a fan base. There's not going to be a sense of, it's going to be apathy. It's going to consistently be apathy because they can't even show what the trade, what this team, what this vision was supposed to be. You can't even enjoy the joy that Kyrie Irving brings every time that he steps on the court. He was the only constant positive this entire season. And now you don't even have that. And sure, there's some bad luck mixed into this. It's very possible this was going to be a lost season, even if the Luka trade hadn't happened. That Derek Lively, that injury, and just the general bad luck of all these injuries was going to make it impossible for Dallas to win the championship this year. But if Luka was still here, you would at least still have hope. You would still have a franchise. You would still have something to build on, to build towards next season. And we're looking at a following season where Kyrie Irving, he may miss a lot of it. It is not implausible that he would miss the entire year. It's not implausible. I don't think, nobody knows. We're not at that point yet.
Sure.
But we've seen players take, and usually it's more Achilles, and it's older players, and it's players who suffered those injuries in the postseason rather than in March. There's no way to know. Kyrie Irving has not even had surgery yet to repair this ACL. But if he's missing 2/3 of next season, I don't know how you build a team to survive that and also be a contender when he comes back. And I think there are worst case scenarios beyond, a 2/3 of the season absence or a all-star break, not, only getting back ready to play in January. This is really grim.
When what you said, Tim, was very apt. If you had Luka, if you would never have made that trade, then you would have hope. And that's what makes this suck so bad.
And he was on his way back. He was on his way back.
But there was reason to have hope. And it was an emotion that's more confident than hope, because the Mavs were in the finals last year. This wasn't hope casting or wish casting.
It actually
for Mavs
happened.
fans to believe this team could win a championship, because they almost did last season, having only 2 months of regular season basketball.
As Tyler in the comments says, Jamal Murray is an example of a torn ACL in March and missing an entire year. There are examples, and especially when you look at Kyrie's age and the importance of him having his body right, and this is a really, 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 really bleak situation.
Yeah, and that's again, it's something more tangible and more crystallized than hope. Mavs fans had the success. There was the thing. They were doing the thing. They were the best team in the NBA for a month and a half. This year, there was no projecting. There was no imagination.
That actually
required.
happened too.
You didn't have to sell me on that. I saw it with my own 2 eyes, how good they were. And then to voluntarily say, you know what, let's shrink the size of our window of contention. Let's close that a little bit. But I'm doing that in exchange for the promise, Mavs fans, that this team might go to the finals one day. In the next 3 years. Well, they definitely won't this year. They probably won't next year. So now I sure hope that 26-27 season is an absolute banger. One for the ages. Otherwise, this is the most.
If the dude who made the trade is even still here.
He probably won't be, but this is the most self-determined colossal failure in sports history. They did this to themselves.
Yeah. The self-sabotage is epic and will be written for years and years to come. Let's take our first break here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. When we come back, we'll welcome in injury analyst and owner of InStreetClothes.com, Jeff Stotts, and get his perspective on the Mavericks season and these injuries that have devastated this team this year. All that and more coming up next on the DLLS Mavs podcast.
The first, Sleeper is the best fantasy league platform out there, and you can put your ball knowledge to the test by picking whether your favorite or least favorite players will have more or less in their projected stats each week. I don't have the heart right now to even think about basketball projected stats, because I don't know who is going to be on this projected basketball team when they play tomorrow against Giannis and the Bucks. So that should be great. But the stars are good, and they got guys that are getting 15 assists every single night. So maybe I'll just become a hockey fan moving forward.
We're a Kai Jones podcast now.
Oh, we are.
Yeah.
Kai Jones, more than 75 points. With Sleeper, the more picks you combine, the more you can win, all the way up to 100 times your money. And Sleeper keeps you in the loop with instant alerts for major injuries. Oh, God. Thanks for that, Sleeper. If you think you have what it takes, new users can download the Sleeper app and use the code DLLS Mavs to get $55 in free entries, and you place a $5 contest. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today.
Get ready for the season ahead, or in this case, maybe the next season ahead, or the following season ahead, with quality
Or the
shades
year
built
after
to
that.
last. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered with premium polarized shades that won't break the bank. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company offering a world-class product rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Their shades have durable frames and crystal clear optics, making them the perfect choice for all outdoor adventures. They also have very dark tinted shades for all on-court adventures
Hide the
that you
tears.
might not want to watch. They have hundreds of options to choose from, so you're bound to find the perfect pair to match your style. They probably have a style in your favorite teams, or maybe your ex-favorite team's colors, too. So exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out the best deal of the season. Head to shadyrays.com and use code DLLS for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself. The shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people.
The Dallas Mavericks have officially announced that Kyrie Irving has suffered a torn ACL during last night's game against the Sacramento Kings, with the Mavericks saying that Irving will be listed as out with medical updates to follow as necessary. That coming as of 15 minutes ago, officially from the
Nothing is necessary anymore.
Well, it is necessary to bring in our first guest of today's show.
That is true.
Jeff.
You can find him on X at In Street Clothes, injury analyst and owner of InStreetClothes.com. Mavericks fan and the best injury analyst in the game.
Correct.
He is Jeff Stotts. Jeff, what's going on?
Appreciate you here. I can't really see, but I got some.
Let's
some
go.
DLS gear
Let's
that's-
go. Let's
So
go,
you know
Jeff.
where my heart lies too. So I'm born and raised in the Dallas area. Tim and I, we had that distinct, unique perspective of sharing Dirk's last moments on the court together in San Antonio. So my heart is always with the Mavs, but I've been doing this, working with the NBA for a long time, tracking all these injuries, and man, this is not how I wanted to come on the show for the first time to talk about. You could have had me on like 8 different times at this point this season. So might as well do it with the last kind of nail in the coffin.
Well, let's just start there before we get to the injuries in specific with each of them, starting obviously with Kyrie Irving. Just your overall thoughts on this season, the expectations coming into the season, how you felt, and obviously where we are now given what this team is going
Have you
through.
ever seen anything like this? Like, ever?
So yes, from a standpoint of every team goes through a stretch of bad injuries. You ask, Memphis went through it last year. The Pelicans had a stretch where they had a bunch of injuries. Philadelphia, around the process, a whole bunch of injuries and lost a lot of games played. Maybe that was by design a little bit, but, every team, really, there's only been one team that's kind of been immune to it, and that was San Antonio. And even then, they had the Kawhi situation that resulted in some time lost too. So, from a personal standpoint, though, I've never seen Dallas go through this. We've been so used to them being so good. I mean, they are the 6th best ranked medical staff since 2005, 2006. Only 5 teams have lost fewer games than them. Even when we had, rough years, Dirk getting injured, and part of that's maybe part of the problem because Dirk was such a resilient, he would suffer a grade 2 high ankle sprain and be back in a week. I know our boy Stein, always said they're bionic ankles for Dirk there, but this is just not something we're used to. This is going to be the highest number of games lost I have for the Mavs since 05-06, and the last time they missed this many games, it really kind of started out very poorly when Seth Curry was ruled out for the year with the stress fracture in his leg, and that season led to a nice draft position and the drafting of a guy by the name of Luka. So, I don't think that's obviously not going to be where we're going to end up after this injury plagued season, but maybe we should have seen this coming with some of the offseason stuff with Kyrie broke his hand. You guys remember, that kind of gets lost in the sauce a little bit, but then you had the Exum injury, and it just kind of seemed like we were playing catch up from the get-go. And, I feel bad for Deion Calhoun and his staff because I do think we got a little bit of what we kind of have this hypothesis. We call it the death spiral phenomenon. It's where if you have one catastrophic injury and now you have to divert and devote resources to rehab versus preventative care, the likelihood of something else happening occurs. And then next thing you know, okay, you got a broken rib for Maxey, then a broken foot for Maxey, and you've had D-Live with his injuries, and then Gafford. And it's just been kind of one thing after another because now you're focused on your injured guys. It's taking away from your healthy guys. Plus, all those healthy guys are being shifted into roles that maybe they weren't prepared for, and so their minutes go up, their load goes up, and you start stretching guys thin. And I think that's potentially what we got going on here. I mean, some of this stuff is just fluke. You cannot. There's no preventative care was going to stop some of the breaks and things they've had, the illnesses that they've had. That virus that ran through after they went to Miami, all those different things that they've had that have led to these high injury totals. And it just seems like a snake bitten season. And that alone would be bad enough. Then you couple in the Luka trade and Luka's calf strain, that, we can't forget about that in terms of injuries. That's something that those games lost are going to count on the final ledger, even if he's no longer here.
Yeah, and even the physical and mental stress of like trying to step up into a role above what you are, prepared for coming into a season. I mean, I know that all affects or can have some effect on the human body. I think that's really the question with Kyrie is Kyrie over the past 6 weeks has averaged the most minutes in the NBA, about 39 minutes per game in this stretch. Now, he was averaging about 35 or 34, 35 before that. That's an increase of about 4 or 5 minutes. Obviously, and you may give the same disclaimer, but like this is not a specific. I'm not specifically asking about Kyrie. What I'm curious about is when you see an ACL injury happen to a older player who has been playing more minutes than I think the team wanted, than the player wanted, and more minutes than when the team was healthy he was being asked. What is the correlation, if there is any? What is the potential correlation between just physical fatigue and a catastrophic injury like this happening?
So there've been a couple minutes or a couple studies that have looked into minutes, and there hasn't been any really thing they've been able to uncover that have directly linked minutes to ACL tears specifically. The big thing that you'll hear, especially with the load management kind of thing we have going forward with the league, is you'll hear some teams use that acute to chronic workload ratio. So what you're looking at is the overall fitness of the player and then what they've gone through in a recent stretch. And so you try to find that balance. And I know, some teams live by that. And so that's where really load management came from, is we were trying to prevent these spikes in energy and load and things like that. But the problem is if you cut a guy off for load management, he narrowly is going to have a spike too. So it's finding this happy balance. And so I think there are probably a lot of things going into play with Kyrie. His age, he does have a history of injuries on this left knee. It's the knee that he previously fractured, had to have multiple surgeries on, to have hardware removed after he got an infection when he was with Boston. So there's some history there. There's age, there's workload. It's multiple factors. Look, and at the end of the day, he gets bumped by Valanciunas, and that causes him to absorb some load on that left side. So, it wasn't a dirty play. It wasn't anything. It's just no injury is really kind of created the same. What we try to do with injury analysis is really try to mitigate risk. We're trying to do everything we can to reduce the chances of something happen. And sometimes even with a complete, green light from a guy, they suffer some kind of injury. And so, it's just sad. Like, really, it's just so unfortunate. And again, I think there's a lot going into play here because, I mean, look, if AD's out there, maybe Kyrie's minutes aren't as high and this is a different situation. So you get this trickle down ripple effect, like I said at the very beginning, from everything that's happened to get us to this point. And I don't think that can be ignored despite the fact that there are multiple variables.
So let's go with, you mentioned Anthony Davis. He, of course, is dealing with the left adductor strain. Obviously, the evaluation for Lively, Gafford, and Davis will be coming on Thursday. He's already been out nearly a month with this injury already that he suffered back on February 8th against the Rockets. How would you describe the recovery for a player dealing with this type of injury and what that looks like for him going forward as someone who has as Davis has dealt with this kind of injury previously in his career?
Yeah, so the adductors is just a fancy medical word for groin, right? Like the adductors are the muscles that move.
Y'all love your fancy words.
Well, it's just telling what it is. It's actually easier. I don't know where groin came from. That just is confusing. I prefer adductors. So this is closely linked to that abdominal strain, same side. When we talk about core, so often we think of abs, but the core is really everything that's not limbs and head, basically, so it's front, it's anterior, it's posterior. So, I think the two probably are linked in some form or fashion. I'm interested to see what they do now. I think kind of everything's going to be reevaluated now. with Kyrie out. I mean, I don't know for sure. I would hope that they wouldn't shut him down, because I do think it's important to see what you have. But I think at the same time, they're going to have to weigh all their options and see what they've got. Because it is a soft tissue injury, and if it is something like a sports hernia or a core muscle injury that potentially could use surgery, maybe they're more proactive now and just say, hey, let's get this done now, have at least you healthy for the beginning of next season, because I would suspect Kyrie's recovery is going to definitely bleed over into next season, and it'll be interesting to see. I heard you guys talking when Kyrie himself comes back.
Yeah, and quickly, so there is a possibility Anthony Davis could be cleared and return to the court and still have surgery. Yeah.
Sure. We've seen this with a guy like Damian Lillard. Lillard battled kind of those chronic reoccurring adductor abdominal before finally just undergoing that surgery, that sports hernia surgery. And back
how
to
long
the catch-all
was Lillard's recovery?
I think he had it in the offseason. It was towards the tail end of the season, and he was back by the beginning of the next year. So
Gotcha.
The recovery and return to play and success rate of the abdominal or the core muscle injury surgery is really high. So it's not something I'd be worried about necessarily lingering into next year unless we hear some kind of setback.
Jeff Stotts joining us here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. Of course, the breaking news with Kyrie Irving suffering of the torn ACL, loss for the rest of the regular season. A couple of other guys who we're watching for as far as their evaluations include Daniel Gafford and, of course, Derek Lively II. We'll start with Lively II, who is dealing, of course, with the ankle stress fracture, initially diagnosed as a ankle sprain and then obviously became a fracture. What does the timeline in terms of what he is dealing with currently still in a walking boot as well, based off of your expertise on these things?
So definitely what we're looking at is the fact that he's still non-weight bearing in that boot. I've seen the pictures. He's been able to get out of it a little bit, which is nice. I've seen him, putting up shots, but if you'll notice, he's not jumping. It's a lot of set shots. There's not a lot of load being placed through that. They're calling it ankle, so I don't really know if that means it's more like fifth metatarsal on the foot or if it actually is more like a fibula. But I would suspect with the sprain, it's probably fibula, so the outside leg bone, lower leg bone. What likely happened in this case is they went in, did some kind of X-ray following the ankle sprain, and saw the stress fracture, whether it was already starting to heal a little bit. Sometimes stress fractures don't initially show up on that X-ray, so we don't see that a break has occurred until healing has actually occurred. So they might have gone in, realized, oh, wow, this is a little bit more serious than we thought. And so now basically it's kind of wait and see. He's probably having routine scans to see how that's healing. The good news is his bone tissue generally returns to original strength. He hasn't had to have surgery at this point, which is good. So that means it was likely a non-displaced fracture. The big thing is just stress injuries take time. You don't want to have a reoccurrence or a setback because you're letting the body's natural healing response catch back up, take care of that bone injury. And then you've got to do some modification too, so that you don't just go right back into activity and any potentially underlying causes in your movement or your biomechanics will result in that stress fracture reoccurring and coming back.
And I guess we'll just run down the last one. And that would be Daniel Gafford. Of course, he's dealing with the grade 3 MCL sprain. The initial prognosis when the report came out is that would be at minimum of 6 weeks.
That's the season.
That's the rest of the regular season.
Yeah.
Is that in line with an injury of that nature of what he's dealing with?
And why would they say grade 3? Grade 3 is, I think, different
essentially
than like
tear, correct?
but it's slightly different,
Yeah.
right? I think.
Correct. So it really, when it comes to injuries, we especially ligamentous injuries, so sprains, we say grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, and then grade 4 also. And then some are joint specific. So the shoulder has a different kind of grading system. For the MCL specifically, the good news is it doesn't appear to be any meniscus involvement. Those MCL fibers do connect to the meniscus. He would have potentially already had surgery. The fact that he hasn't had surgery already means it's likely he's got a incomplete tear, but a tear nonetheless. Grade 1 is usually a mild sprain, overstretching of the ligaments, but the damage is kind of on a microfiber level, if anything. Grade 2, we call that a partial tear or an incomplete tear. Grade 3 is likely more percentage of the fibers were torn than a grade 2. And then a grade 4, in this case, will likely be a full, complete tear. And the MCL is a little bit unique because it's got kind of, like I said, intertwined with the meniscus, and it's got different little bands and areas that we look at. So, what's crazy is, he kind of suffered it the same way Kyrie did, a little hyperextension but it's a different ligament in play there. So MCL for Gafford. I think I said originally 26 games was the average time lost for a grade 3 or higher kind of ranked injury, so that didn't require surgery. There haven't been a ton of cases, so it's not the best comparison. But again, now that Kyrie's out, are we going to be proactive with care for Gafford and protect him from himself as well? I'll be interested to see how the next couple. We knew that March 6th date was coming, and now I think it's kind of changed and it's going to potentially look a little different.
One final medical diagnosis I'm going to ask of you. Is this Dallas Mavericks season dead?
DNR maybe, I guess.
Yeah.
It's hard to see that, and look, we didn't even mention Jaden Hardy, third right ankle sprain this season, going to miss some time too. It's just, you're so kids said it last night, Coach Kidd, that they're just running out of bodies. They're healthy body, and they position themselves to kind of be limited by the cap. And so it's hard to even bring guys in. So you're going to see a lot of Dinwiddie. You're going to see a lot of those guys that are healthy and kind of hope nothing else pops up. And, hopefully a guy like Caleb Martin comes back. He's another guy that's injured that we haven't seen yet. So maybe we see him take the court and this eases the burden a little bit. But hey, it's pretty bleak, man.
Jeff, tell the folks real quick where they can find you on social media and where they can find your work, man.
In street clothes. That's me everywhere, so it's like when a player's hurt, he's in street clothes. So that's where that comes from. That's where I came up with it. And that's where you can find me. And hopefully we're done talking Mavs injury wise, and hopefully we'll get some positive news on some guys soon.
Hope so, man.
Jeff, fantastic stuff. We sincerely appreciate you taking the time to join us here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. This will definitely, I want to say it's the last time, but it definitely won't be the last time because we're going to talk about some positive stuff the next time we have you on the show. So we appreciate you hanging out with us today
15
on the
minutes
podcast.
just on those minutes in San Antonio, man. We'll always have that. Hang in there.
We'll always have that, man.
Appreciate you, man. Have a good one.
Thank you.
That's Jeff Stotts. You can find him on X at In Street Clothes.
Great follow.
Yeah,
Great
terrific follow if you're looking to keep track of injury news across the association. When we come back here on the DLLS Mavs podcast, we welcome in friend of the show, Jason Gallagher of the Young Man and the Three podcast to get his thoughts and perspective on this Mavericks season from hell. We will discuss that with him and more coming up next on the DLLS Mavs podcast. But it's game time here on the program. If you love going to concerts, sporting events, or in my case, wrestling events, you've got to use Game Time to get your tickets. Game Time picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets to find the best value. They've got panoramic seat views, so I knew exactly where I was going to sit before I purchased my tickets to go to WrestleMania coming up on April 19th and 20th. And they've got all-in pricing as well, so I knew exactly what I was going to pay, and I wasn't surprised by any fees when I went to checkout for my tickets. They've also got Game Time ticket coverage as well, so your tickets are guaranteed to be delivered on time and your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code DLLS for $20 off your first purchase. Remember, terms apply. Create an account and redeem code DLLS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest priced, guaranteed.
Get fitted out in the best sports gear around with FOCO. They've got hoodies, shoes, signs, bobbleheads, and everything in between. I'm on their site right now. Backpacks. You guys like backpacks?
I love backpacks.
Drawstring backpacks, duffel bags, fanny packs,
Crocs. I got Crocs
tool bags. You do a lot of use tools a lot.
I'm a bit of a handyman myself.
Okay, a bit of a handyman.
Only a bit.
Yeah, I was gonna say Bobby has clearly never touched a hammer in his life.
That is so not true. I've touched FOCO branded hammers many times.
Pause.
If you're going to a basketball or a hockey game, show off your love with a team-branded friendship bracelet. Do not bring a hammer to a basketball game. It doesn't matter what you're feeling. Do not bring a hammer. Do not bring a hammer. We do not endorse that. Whether it is jackets, beachwear, or even overalls, there is something for fans for almost every occasion. Check out FOCO.com or click the link in the descriptions below for all non-presale items. Use promo code DLLS10 for 10% off.
As we continue here on the DLLS Mavs podcast, let's welcome in friend of the program, of course, Emmy-winning director, part of the Young Man and the Three podcast, former Maverick superfan. He is, of course, Jason Gallagher. Jason, what's going on? Oh, no. He froze.
A frozen forever, a
Oh,
smile forever
at least
frozen
he's
on his
smiling.
face.
At least he
Oh,
was
no.
smiling as he was frozen in time.
Right at the moment of truth, things fell apart, just like this season.
Just like
Man.
this season.
I thought it was like a dramatic
Me too.
pause for
I know, right?
silent effect.
He was smiling because it happened, and then we were going to get his actual thoughts.
It is a beautiful smile that he had on his face.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I miss him.
All right. We're back.
We'll get him back here in just a moment.
What do you think he was gonna say?
I was going to just let him have the floor and just unleash whatever thoughts that first came to his mind about, obviously.
Up.
Maybe he's self-censored.
Oh, did you? And he moved? Did you move as well? Like he's like,
Yeah. I moved closer to my Wi-Fi router. So
okay.
Oh, okay.
Always a good route to take.
Your Wi-Fi helping you get internet to find some good news online?
it's tough. It's a tough day. Just after many, many tough days, it just gets tougher for Mavs fans. But, I'm sure you all have hashed all of this out. But I think for me, just it sucks because it's such a massive bummer. Kyrie's been so awesome. He's just been so awesome, both on the court and off the court. You kind of couldn't have asked for a better ambassador for the Mavericks. And, I would happily admit I was extremely skeptical of him coming to the Mavs, and I couldn't have been more wrong. He's been a godsend for them. So just bums me out to see Kyrie's season ended this way. But, it's also just one of those things. And this just feels a little dirty to say out loud, but it is a little like, golly, I mean, it felt like something you could kind of see, not that to this extent, but you could just kind of see like putting that much on him, was not great. So yeah, sucks for Kyrie. Shout out him.
Jason, I was trying to figure out what to call you in our show description. I said former Mavs superfan. Is that a correct way to do it? Are you former or are you still current?
Hey, you guys know I like to wear my heart out on my sleeves. So I'll just absolutely admit I am the super fan that kind of can't quit keeping tabs on their ex. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I actually find myself watching the games because I like the players a lot. And it is just such an interesting experience that I don't think has like a roadmap. So it's like quitting cold turkey. It's just kind of hard for me. So I'm definitely like have ties. We all know people within the organization, etc. So, there's some part of you that wants a level of success just for some people to have a break, I guess, this poor social media people, God bless them. But I will say that my love and care of the Mavs has dramatically decreased.
And, I said this earlier in the show. I'll summarize it for you. It's, there's a percentage of the fan base that was never going, like the Luka trade alone. Like some percentage of the fan base was just never going to be able to get over that. There's another percentage of the fan base that, the trust and the passion was going to be, altered irrevocably. But if this team was at least on the court, there was more of a path for more fans for closure. And like the pragmatic thing to do is Anthony Davis should be shut down for the year because Dallas is not going to win a title. They're not going to get close. But there's also like do they bring him back just because you have to show something? Just because like this, it feels like, this trade was already going to be, this trade was controversial no matter how you made it. But Nico Harrison, like he at least made it clear. He was like, well, we'll see on the court how it works out. And to not even have that chance for that to happen, I really worry what that does to the apathy of a fan base that isn't going to have, a real team to root for months,
Yeah, it's a huge bummer. And it's something that I think that even when you spoke to people that had no emotion with regards to this trade, outsiders, people, more national media people. I think that that's what made people so baffled by the trade itself. Again, Nico didn't go out there and hurt everybody, obviously, but there was this level of short-sightedness that I felt like, in an effort to sort of really get out from underneath a situation that he did not love. He put all of his eggs in a very narrow basket, in my view, not just time-wise, but just simply manpower-wise. Like, anyone who was watching Kyrie all season knew that he was dealing with stuff. And anyone who's ever played sports knows that when you deal with one thing, other things pop up. And this is just kind of the way the human body works, especially when you play nearly 40 minutes a night. I think that, to your point, Tim, that to see the product on the court, yes, there was definitely a possibility of success, but so many things had to go right, like so many things had to go exactly your way in order for this experiment to work. And I think that's what made people so frustrated with the move that had no emotional connection to Dallas. You know what I mean? It's complete, because Luka was not only your present, he was your future as well. So it's punting on your future, essentially, for a very narrow, very if dependent present that I think anyone with a, sort of any understanding of the league understood that this was not the best bet. And
the hardest thing to do in the NBA is to win a championship. And every single great team that legitimately could be, champions can have an injury season like this and be doomed. And sometimes, we'll see, but if you have an injury at the wrong time, it can be something that affects two different seasons, which is the fear with Kyrie. But Luka being 25 gave you the safety net. And even if Nico's right, and even if Luka isn't in the league at 30, and that is very hard for me to believe, but even if he's right, at least the fandom, at least the fans have the perception that they're going to have 10 more years of Luka. And taking that away takes away so much of the fandom's reason to be locked in to the Mavs, even when a season is going awry in a way that in a lot of instances was not controllable with all of these injuries.
Yeah. And I think that this is even beyond that. It's that's why I think Luka is the type of asset that you can afford to trade for a win now situation and also hedge your future. And I think that that's why people, again, outside of even the Mavs, thought, wow, this doesn't seem like the wisest move. I think that's what's so crazy. It feels like the rush to get out from under the Luka situation was extremely short-sighted. And I'm trying to be polite here. It was extremely short-sighted to the point that
especially with the baseless reasons that they gave for it too.
You know what any other franchise would take away the player itself, would give to have a top 3 asset in the NBA? What you can do with that alone, to not value that properly, is a fireable offense, in my opinion.
But I want to follow up on that. So I think there are a lot of Mavs fans that feel that way too. There are a lot of Mavs fans that are holding up Fire Nico signs and that believe, potentially rightly so, that he should not be the general manager of this team. But given the relative lack of means of improvement, they don't have a lot of other young players or picks to offer to get veterans. They now have a team that's mostly on the wrong side of 30. What do you hope happens next? Like, do you want them to try and trot this team out next year and go for it and try for a year or two, or do you want to just push the reset button? Like, what do you hope happens next for this team?
Yeah, that's a really hard question, honestly. When it comes to the on-court stuff, a part of me says reset. I also could see the argument for going for it. I see the argument for saying, hey, screw it. We're going to be a bunch of dudes in their 30s. Let's go get KD or whatever. I understand the argument. I think in regards to your first point with the signs of the fire Nico signs, that's what makes this trade so unique, is that it goes so well beyond what's on the court. I think you're trying to actually repair a couple different things, both your chances at winning and then also your relationship with your fan base. And yes, the first can definitely help with the second, but I don't know. I mean, you guys are boots on the ground there. I feel like repairing the relationship with your fan base it would be priority number one for me at this point. I don't know. That's why I'm such a big proponent. And but yeah, I don't have a clear answer to whether or not I'd blow it up just yet, because there's so much talent on the team. And basketball is just such a funky thing. If I'm a betting person, I don't think that this iteration of this team is going to have success.
I feel like if they do make a change at GM, the new GM is going to blow it up, because no GM wants to take a job where your runway is, a
35, a 33, and a 32-year-old with a torn ACL.
I think it's very, very clear, or I think it's very, very. I'm very, very certain that Dallas is going to continue. They're going to go into next season. They're going to, the roster may look different, but they are going to act and believe that they are still contenders. It's just that this Irving injury, the fact that it was the worst possible outcome, that just makes it so much more difficult. If it had been something less severe, if Kyrie Irving would have been healthy going into next season, it's a lot easier to look at this roster and, whatever they could potentially do in the summer and think, okay, they are going to be really good for another year or two. This just makes it so much more difficult.
It does. It's yeah. I don't know how they get out from underneath this, and the fact that this was all sort of done within a month period.
They took a blowtorch to this franchise in a month.
Every detail about this is so crazy. And one of the revelations I sort of had today, so I've been pretty vocal on old X.com. This
is that named after Luka?
Yeah, that's right. I just what's really crazy is how I think it's pretty safe to say Nico wanted this trade, given the fact that he's said it out loud. Everyone around him has said it out loud. Everyone you speak to in and around the organization who understands the sourcing and all of that other stuff has said, yeah, Nico really was not a fan, like in the sense of the way he took care of his body or whatever, that all of these things can happen. And the trade is so bad that people are like, couldn't have been him. And it's like, he's saying it to your face. It's him. And basically everyone we know, I mean, that's been the most fascinating thing as we all have sort of uncovered this entire thing is, oh my gosh, he really, really, really believed that Luka was just not it. And, if people try to say it's for this reason or that reason, and it really comes down to, I think that the guy didn't like Nico or Luka. And I think that people have such a hard time believing that. That's what's so crazy. I texted this to a friend earlier. It feels like an episode of South Park where the guy was like, it was me. And everyone's like, it couldn't have been you. And it's like, well, it was him.
I've got a fan survey going on, and obviously we'll reveal the results at a later point.
Oh, let's go.
Yeah, but there's one of the questions is, do you think the reported reasons for the Luka trade are the reasons? Do you think there are more reasons involving Luka? Do you think there are more reasons involving stuff that isn't Luka? And the majority opinion is that fans still think there are reasons not involving Luka that caused this trade. And
I get it.
Yeah, like it doesn't, like I am here telling you, just like you are, Jason, listen, like believe Nico, believe the reasons Nico gave for this trade. Yes. He said them out loud. Like those are, as far as I understand, those are the reasons. Believe the words that are coming out of his mouth. But it is truly wild that there is still this disbelief that those could be the reasons.
Yeah, you have journalistic standards. Actually, all of you do. I don't have any. Everyone I've spoken to behind the scenes is like, yep, that's what it was. Yep, Patrick Dumont doesn't know a lot about basketball and just truly kind of trusted him and was like, I can save money too. Sign me up. Like, that was it. I don't, and it's that's how bad the trade is. I don't even necessarily blame people. I don't even necessarily blame them, So anyways.
When someone shows you who they are, believe them. And Nico has clearly told us in our face who he believes he is and executed on it. Jason, it's always good to see you, my man. We appreciate you hanging out with us. Can I tell
you guys one more thing? The worst part, I've not told this to anybody. The worst part about this entire trade is that my dog, who I love very much, his name is Nico. And it just sucks.
Dude.
It's just a reminder every time I see him. Just sucks.
You got to file the paperwork, man.
Yeah.
You got to get that
legal
thing
name
changed.
change. You got to get the name change done. You got to get it done.
You have to. I'm sorry, dude. T's and P's.
Wow.
I know. We adopted him, and we were told his name was Nemo when we adopted him. And we were told, if you're going to change the name, it has to sound similar to Nemo. And so I was like, I like the name Nico. This was prior to Nico Harrison even being a part of the Mavs. Man.
You got to go to Neo.
Damn.
It's cleaner.
Neo. Good.
Yeah.
That's
good to see you, man.
All right. See you, boys.
That's our guy, Jason Gallagher of the Young Man and the 3 Podcast and Emmy-winning director.
Very sweet dog, too.
Let's take our last break here on the DLLS Mavs Podcast. When we come back, what do the Mavericks go from here? And we will get to all of your super chats as well from today's show. Coming up next on the DLLS Mavs Podcast.
Ooh. But first, shout out to Starlin, shout out to Howard, shout out to Frank and Anthony and Mike and Jesus, who all have signed up to become diehards since yesterday. Diehard is a member of our community here at DLLS Sports. It is a way to support us beyond just hanging out in the chat, commenting on the videos, liking the stream, subbing to the channel and all that stuff. And we're running a limited time special offer right now during Rangers spring training, which is going for another couple weeks before they get underway. And even the Rangers are going through some health stuff right now, which is super cool. But to mark the occasion, it is just $48 for the year, $4 a month if you scan the QR code right there or click the link in the description below or go to alldls.com/diehard. When you sign up, you get a free shirt of your choosing, which pays for a ton of the membership fee. You also get a discount on any other gear, discount on live events. We got one coming up next month. Stay tuned for that. You also get to join the DLS Diehard Discord server, which is a really fun place to hang out, especially when the sky is falling and the wind is howling and all sorts of disasters. It's getting darker outside right now, too. I guess we're just going to go through this together. At least we'll all be online while we do it. That's fun. And you get to read all the paywall to premium content on alldls.com, including to get the results of that fan survey that Tim was just talking about. And you also get your physical diehard card. There's a whole lot of reasons to do it. I do want to shout out diehard Sarah, who was making the Titanic orchestra joke last night in our post-game stream. She actually posted a video of herself on Twitter playing that theme. We retweeted it from the DLLS Mavs account, but we have a very creative group of people in our community, and no matter how terrible the situation is, and believe me, it is terrible.
It's awful.
We do get to go through this together, and I'm really grateful for that.
Oh boy, the entire Mavericks community is going through it.
Oh, we just did it.
Nick Angstad just taking it to the head with the was that Jack Dan? Or
hey, we didn't cut. We don't make cuts on DLLS Sports. All right, we finished the job.
Yeah, that's very true. As we finish up here on our show today, we'll get to your super chats and all of them here in just a moment. Chris Haynes also reporting as well that the Dallas Mavericks will be without Jaden Hardy for a period of time after he suffered the ankle sprain in the game against the Sacramento Kings. As well.
Shams apparently said on TV about Anthony Davis. I think his representation are going to huddle up. I think they're going to have some very hard conversations. It's not out of the realm of possibility that one game was the last time we've seen AD this season.
Yeah, that's just awesome.
Yep, I was. You beat me to it.
Oh, my bad.
No, you you're good. That just sets us up for what we're going to be talking about here. But yes,
real quick though, Jeff Stotts says that his dog is named Maverick. And he also feels Jason Gallagher's pain.
That's a little better than Nico.
That is a little better
at this rate.
But every day is a reminder.
For sure. But yes, Shams Sharani also sounds like getting us prepared for the idea that Anthony Davis, may be missing the rest of the regular season.
That doesn't make me feel any worse, honestly.
I mean, at this point, it's just gut punch after gut punch.
Yeah.
Let's get to our super chats here on today's show. Again, thank you so much for bearing with us as we've gone through our show today. As we get to your super chats, let's start with Jake with the $4.99 super chat, one of two apparently. This is only the third time in NBA history a team has gone from the NBA Finals to missing the playoffs. Jordan's Last Dance team was one of those.
Well, one thing that the Mavs have in common with Michael Jordan is that their best player liked eating pizza, I guess. And so that's cool.
Classic Slaw with the $2 super chat. Oh, good job. Thank you, Tanner. I appreciate that. Thank you. 2 of 2 with the $4.99 super chat from Jake once again. He retired and the team was blown up. The 1969 Celtics were the other team when Bill Russell and Sam Jones retired. Never before has it happened by mismanagement.
That's genuinely so wild to me because there have been some teams in the finals, teams that have won finals that have come back with really disappointing seasons. Hell, the 2011 Mavericks.
Thank you. Yeah.
But that's genuinely wild.
So
it's
someone
hard to miss
did
the
fact
playoffs.
check and say that happened to the Lakers too. I didn't look it up yet, but
Okay.
2004 and 2005.
Okay, but
So it may
another.
have happened.
Oh,
one
yeah,
They
but
went to the finals.
that was kind of by their own design too, because they signed Karl Malone and Gary Payton. They were super old and dusty, and
Yeah, they were trying to get one more
yeah.
out
So,
with
but
Kobe
I mean, they
and Shaq.
kind of opted into that.
They did.
themselves,
Right.
Of course,
did.
they were in the finals 2 years after
Kobe
that,
Shaq broke up after that season, or
before.
before,
Yeah.
or going into that season.
After the 03-04 season.
yeah.
Of course, there was some plenty of off-court issues.
But yeah, that's what I'm saying.
with that
Like,
season.
the players that got them to the finals broke up the following season. And
Yeah.
then they missed.
yeah,
GP
but also
and-
everything going on with Kobe and
Right.
then also Shaq as well.
And Gary Payton wound up getting his championship. In
Oh my
2000
God!
in
Just
two-
don't even stop.
My bad. Classic Slot with the $2 super chat. Dreading going to my first home Mavs game now. Oh, I'm sorry.
You will
Class.
get to support Max Christie in person though, and that is an opportunity.
if
that
the Monstars
you
give him
must
his
make the
talent
most
back.
of. What about Najee?
if the Monstars give him his talent
Kai
back? too?
Jones.
He's
You
got.
get to
Hey,
see
shout out
Kai
to him. He
Jones
made his
play. Let's
debut
go.
last night. Good for him.
Kai Jones already has more points as a Mav than Ricky Lito. That broke my heart to see.
What?
Yeah,
No way.
yeah.
Cozy with the super chat, the 50 super chat. Don't worry, guys. We still have Luka. Oh,
Classic beta switch.
you can watch him crush the Pelicans tonight if you want to, that sort of thing. Classic Stang Lover with the $4.99 super chat. They don't understand that this isn't a normal top market. We don't get free agents. We have to build our players so they are family to us.
Kind of. I mean, that was kind of the point of bringing in Nico, is to the thought that the Mavs would have a seat at the table, and that worked with Clay.
Work with Kyrie.
It worked with getting Clay here.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that move worked, but
Hey, but as we've discussed, a big reason why they got Clay is they went to the finals.
yeah,
It is
they wanted Clay to play with Luka.
it is way easier when you show the work and you prove that you're a team of that level. It's way different for a team that probably isn't making even the play-in tournament, or we'll see. It's a really different situation.
Yeah, Clay is a Hall of Fame level player and is still an incredible shooter. His skills are going to waste playing alongside, no disrespect, but playing alongside people like Dinwiddie, Dante Exum. He needs the other guys to. Yeah, it's tough.
Let's finish up here before we get out of here on our show today. Jake with the dollar. Yes. Thank you to our television audience for joining us here on the DLLS Mavs podcast. We will be back tomorrow as the Dallas Mavericks visit the Milwaukee Bucks on the road. That game will tip off at 7:30 p.m. Our pregame show will begin at 6:45 p.m. right here on DLLS Sports. As we finish up here on our show today, a piece of good news if you're into that sort of thing. The Dallas Mavericks have assigned Caleb Martin to the Texas Legends of the NBA G League.
Woohoo!
Yes.
Oh, that's the Stars. Never mind.
No, that's all right. The thought was good though. Jake,
Oh, there's a look at that. That's a shirt from the finals.
Oh wow.
2024. What?
Pull it up.
oh wow.
People on video can't see that.
This shirt says that they were in the NBA finals in 2023. That can't be right. They were in the finals last year.
That's right.
Maybe they meant 19.
Not even last year. 9 months ago.
In 1914
Nope.
or
2000.
24. Whatever.
23-24. Jake with the $1.99 super chat.
Another one from Jake.
Another one.
Go.
Mavs fan sacrificed to prop up a flagship org.
The Lakers are profiting off of all of our hard work. This does feel like an English Premier League moment. Every good player from Crystal Palace just ends up on Man U or Tottenham or whatever.
People have been making jokes. Dallas is just Benfica now. It's a deep cut joke, but
it's the way it goes.
Martin the Polar Bear with the $5 super chat. His 10th super chat with us here at DLLS Sports. Shout out to you, Martin.
Let's go.
The problem is Nico is not a Mavs fan. He never cared about the Mavs before being hired. He won't when he's gone. A team needs to quit hiring carpetbaggers.
And I think most GMs, it would be tough to assign to the extent that they are fan. I mean, they work for the organization, but almost every GM has a lot more understanding and I think respect for what that fandom means, or I think understanding at least for sure is the key word here.
Yeah, because I mean, most GMs start working their way up through basketball, so
Exactly.
scouts and then front office people or whatever, and that system has its own shortcomings. I'm not defending the way that the old ways, but I mean, Nico's background is primarily in business. Basketball related business. It's not like Nico has no idea of what basketball is or anything. I mean, he's one of the most important basketball figures of the last 20 years, if you're to believe the mythology and everything, but his background is not in running a basketball team. His background is in the business of basketball, which makes this move make a lot of sense to me.
And I apologize. Our pregame show tomorrow with the tip-off being at 7 p.m. Our pregame show will begin at 6:30, so I apologize. 6:30 will be our pregame show.
Way to go, KG.
I'm sorry for that mistake there. Classic Stain Lover with the $1.99 super chat. Does Nico like... Thank you for your super chat. Ardell.
Dante Exum.
Kyrie was
Irving.
born in Australia.
That's right.
Yeah.
Ardell with the $5.41 super chat. We were sold a bill of goods that said Nico's strength was his relationships and interpersonal skills. He's unqualified to be a GM on every level. Thank you, Ardell. Ozzy D.
I don't think that we can argue that, but I also don't want to argue that, even if I could.
I'm exhausted. Like February 1st at 11:12 p.m. to let you know how qualified he was at this job. Ozzy D with the $4.99 super chat that we'll finish up with for today. When are the open trials for the Mavericks? I'll hustle like Dwight Powell and for half the salary. Don't give them any money back. You get everything that you're worth, Ozzy.
I mean, they're only if the only players that miss tomorrow are the ones we know will be out, they will have 10 healthy players. And there's I don't know if Dante Exum is going to play or not because he tweaked something the other day.
He tweaked something in the game last night.
The Mavs are a couple problems away from having to forfeit a game. I hope we realize that might happen. They have 10 active players. You need 8. Otherwise, you forfeit.
Get ready for
That's
Kai
true.
Jones to start at center tomorrow. Kessler Edwards to come off the bench. Dwight Powell.
Kessler Edwards can't play. He's only got 8 games left.
They're going to smoke the rest of them games. Are you kidding me? For what?
He's good.
What you saving him for?
Well, what's going to happen after they're going to have to sign someone else, probably, right?
Yeah, you got to go. Sorry.
Oh my God!
What you saving those games? There's no reason to save those games.
Forfeit.
Oh,
Forfeit.
It's dumb you can't play round 5 like Colin Sexton did.
You
that one
should.
time.
Oh, that was epic, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Appreciate
Not
all
really
of you
dumb.
for joining us today
Maybe.
on our show. Thanks to Jason Gallagher of the Young Man and the 3 podcast, and also Jeff Stotts, owner of InStreetClothes.com and injury analyst, for joining us on our show. If you missed our emergency pod that we did earlier this morning, you can go back and watch that on the DLLS Sports YouTube page as well. And, of course, our podcast here, wherever you get your podcast for free. Give it a 5-star rating and write a review for it while you're there. I appreciate our guy Tanner making us look good and sound good as always. Appreciate you, sir. That's our Mavericks analyst, Bobby Carell. That's our Mavericks beat writer, Tim Cato. I'm your host, Kevin Gray. We are DLLS Mavs. We'll talk to you tomorrow evening at 6:30 p.m. right here on DLLS Sports for the DLLS Mavs pregame show. Y'all be good. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.